The day I discovered my husband's affair wasn't the day I found lipstick on his collar or perfume on his shirts. It was the day I opened our joint bank account and saw he'd emptied everything, every single dollar we'd saved for 10 years, and transferred it to a woman I'd never heard of. Her name was Cassidy Monroe, and she wasn't just his mistress. She was his business partner in the company I helped him build from absolutely nothing. My name is Jennifer Carter, and this is the story of how my husband destroyed me, replaced me, and tried to erase me from the empire I created with my own bare hands. But here's the twist nobody saw coming. Not him, not her, not anyone. I didn't just survive. I became the nightmare they should have feared from the beginning. Let me take you back to where it all started falling apart. My husband, Derek Carter, was a nobody when I met him 12 years ago. He was a failed entrepreneur with 3 bankrupted businesses and a dream he couldn't finance. I believed in him when nobody else did. I worked 2 jobs, one as a marketing consultant and another as a freelance designer, to pay our bills while he built his revolutionary tech startup. I went without sleep. I went without vacations. I poured my entire salary into his vision while he promised me that one day, when the company succeeded, we'd finally live the life we deserved together. And it did succeed, beyond anyone's wildest expectations. Within 5 years, Carter Tech Solutions became a multi-million-dollar company. Derek was featured in magazines, invited to conferences, celebrated as a self-made genius. And me? I was the supportive wife smiling in the background of every photo, the woman who stood by him while he built his empire. Nobody knew I wrote the business plan. Nobody knew I designed the logo, the website, the entire brand identity. Nobody knew I spent nights cold calling investors while Derek slept. Because Derek made sure nobody knew. He erased my contributions like I was a ghost who never existed. But I told myself it was fine. We were married. His success was my success. We were partners. Or at least, that's the lie I kept telling myself every time he forgot to thank me, every time he took sole credit, every time he introduced me as just my wife, instead of the co-founder I actually was. Then came the day that shattered everything. I was at home, organizing our tax documents, when I logged into our joint account to check something. And my heart stopped. The account was empty, completely drained. $250,000 gone. I frantically checked our savings, our investment accounts, everything. All empty. Transferred out 3 days ago. I called Derek immediately, hands shaking, voice breaking. He answered casually like nothing was wrong. Derek, what happened to our accounts? Everything's gone. Silence. Then a sigh. Not guilty. Not apologetic. Annoyed. Jennifer, we need to talk. I'm coming home. Those words. I knew. I already knew. Something terrible was about to happen. He arrived an hour later, and he didn't even sit down. Didn't even pretend to care that I'd been crying. He stood in our living room, the living room I decorated, in the house I helped buy, and delivered the words that destroyed my world. I want a divorce. I've met someone else. Her name is Cassidy. She's my new VP of operations, and honestly, Jennifer, she understands my vision in ways you never could. We're building something together. Something bigger. And I need to move forward without you holding me back. Holding him back. Me. The woman who sacrificed everything so he could have a chance. I couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. Couldn't process. He continued, completely emotionless. I've already spoken to my lawyer. You'll get a fair settlement. But the company is mine. I built it. My name is on everything. You were just supportive, and I appreciate that, but you weren't essential. Cassidy brings actual value. She has an MBA from Stanford. She has connections. She has ambition. And honestly, we just connect on a different level. If you've stayed with me this far, do me a favor and hit that like button. Because what happens next is going to blow your mind, and I need you locked in for this. I stood there, completely destroyed, and watched my husband of 10 years walk out of our house with a suitcase he'd already packed. He'd planned this. He'd orchestrated everything. And the worst part? He'd done it legally. His name was on the company registration. His name was on the patents. His name was on everything because I'd trusted him. I believed we were partners. I never thought I needed legal protection for my own husband. The divorce was brutal. His lawyers painted me as a non-contributing spouse who'd simply supported from home. They claimed I had no legal stake in the company despite the fact that I'd built half of it. And because I'd been naive enough to not demand my name on any documents, I had no proof, no paper trail, nothing. The judge awarded me a tiny settlement, barely enough to cover 6 months of rent, and Derek walked away with everything. The company, the house, the cars, the reputation, everything I'd built, everything I'd sacrificed for. I moved into a small apartment on the wrong side of town. I was broke, depressed, destroyed. I spent weeks barely eating, barely sleeping, replaying every moment where I should have protected myself. My friends tried to help, but I was too broken to let anyone in. I'd lost everything. My husband, my financial security, my sense of self. I felt erased, but then something inside me shifted. It happened on a random Tuesday night when I was scrolling through social media and saw a post from Derek's company page. There they were, Derek and Cassidy standing together at some tech conference, smiling, holding an award for innovation in tech solutions. The award was for a project I'd conceptualized 2 years ago. A project I'd presented to Derek over dinner one night. A project he'd called interesting but not practical back then. And now it was his. Theirs. They'd stolen my idea, executed it, and were taking credit while I rotted in a studio apartment wondering how my life fell apart. That's when the anger came. Not sadness. Not grief. Pure volcanic rage. And with that rage came clarity. If Derek could erase me from the narrative, I could rewrite my own story. And I'd make damn sure he regretted every single second of underestimating me. I spent the next 6 months in complete silence. No social media. No contact with mutual friends. I vanished. And while I was gone, I was building. I took the tiny settlement money and invested every cent into creating my own consulting firm, Carter Solutions Group. I reached out to every contact I'd made during the years I worked behind the scenes. Every investor I'd called. Every client I'd helped secure. And I told them the truth. I told them who really built Derek's company. I told them what he'd done. And you know what? They believed me. Because they remembered me. They remembered the woman who'd actually done the work. Within 8 months, I had 15 major clients. Within a year, my revenue surpassed Derek's first-year earnings. And I made sure everyone knew. I wasn't hiding anymore. I wasn't a silent partner. I was Jennifer Carter, CEO, and I was taking back everything he'd stolen. But here's where it gets beautiful. Before the story ends, do me one more favor. Hit that subscribe button and drop a comment telling me if you do the same thing, because the final move I made will leave you speechless. 2 years after the divorce, Derek's company started struggling. Clients were leaving. Not randomly. Strategically. Because I'd offered them better services, better rates, and something Derek never could. Integrity. His investors started pulling out. His reputation crumbled. And Cassidy? She left him the second the money started disappearing. Turns out she wasn't in love with Derek. She was in love with his success. And when that vanished, so did she. Last month, Derek called me. Not through lawyers. Directly. His voice was broken, desperate, pathetic. He begged me to consult for his company. Said he'd pay anything. Said he was sorry. Said he'd made the biggest mistake of his life. And I listened. I let him finish. Then I said 5 words that ended him forever. I don't work with thieves. Today, Carter Solutions Group is worth $8 million. I've been featured in Forbes. I speak at conferences Derek used to dominate. And every time someone asks me how I built my empire, I tell them the truth. I built it twice. Once for a man who stole it. And once for myself, where nobody could ever take it away again. My name is Jennifer Carter. And this is how I became the woman my ex-husband wishes he'd never betrayed.